Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here, and this is a very interesting topic. Before I start talking about the topic, I thought it's a good idea to give you a very brief introduction about myself, so that you know where I'm coming from. And similarly, I'll ask all the panel members also to introduce themselves briefly. I feel that's very important so that we know the background that we have. So I am coming from a CIO background. I've been a CIO for about 24 years. The last 12 years I was with Ernst & Young. Before that with Hughes Software Systems, HCL Infosystems, and Delhi Stock Exchange. I started my career in the Indian Navy. So I did 20 years in the Navy, took premature retirement as a commander. Basically a BTech electronics from Banaras, BHU, and an MTech from IIT Kanpur. That's my profile. Now, I think what I want to do is let's start the topic, which is really an extremely important one at this time. See, as I see it, we've gone through massive amount of change in these last 2 years. But even before that, or the previous, let's say 4 or 5 years before that, we were talking of digital transformation a lot. And digital transformation, in my mind, meant the huge amount of change for the technology infrastructure, the applications, and the way people interact with each other using technology as a platform. All that was happening, and suddenly this pandemic came, and we started, working from home, lockdowns, people not being able to go to office. Fortunately, I retired just before the pandemic started, so I was not in an active job. So I really appreciate the work which people who all of you in your roles have done to keep things moving. Now, what really happened? One was, of course, people working remotely and therefore having a lot of endpoints joining your network. At the same time, we had, a lot of infrastructure moving to the clouds. So, to the cloud movement was also a huge impact that was happening. In fact, if I remember correctly, when we said IT, or the IT infrastructure, we meant all the servers and the networks, right? On which all the applications were sitting on the servers, and that is what we were all managing in IT operations. So the servers part has moved very fast to the cloud, and the end points which are all connected to the network are also moving remotely. So there's been I would say a huge change, and that's really something. You're talking of microservices, you're talking of APIs, and another thing which has really hit the network is the video demand. I remember video earlier was what? A video conference, a video conference room. So you had one video conference room and another video conference room and two, and we used to say, well, the network is getting overloaded because two people talking on video. So can you imagine today the amount of video traffic that is there on the network? So I would say all of this has impacted the network hugely. And coming with the network also, then we have security, we have performance, we have remote management, all of these requirements which really have come up. Now, also the basic business requirements have changed. The business expectation is that everything should work. We don't want to be sitting in a office. We don't care where the server is, what there is. I mean, all the applications should work, and therefore all of this has made the network extremely complex. So what we need to discuss today is how has this impacted you in your organization, in your work that you do? How has it been for you, not just for 2 years, for the last, let's say, 3, 4, 5 years? So maybe you can also, when you introduce yourself, please also mention a little bit about your infrastructure, what sort of network you have, what are the types of traffic that you handle, what are the issues that you faced, very briefly in the introduction part, and then we move out into the details. So maybe I start with Bijender. Bijender, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your organization and the infrastructure there?
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Rajiv. It's my great privilege to be here today. So my name is Bijender Mishra, and I'm the Chief Information Security Officer at Alchem Laboratories. Yeah. So I look after the whole cybersecurity landscape of Alchem and its subsidiaries. So currently I manage 5 subsidiaries, 3 domestic and 2 overseas subsidiaries. So being a pharma, one of the most heavily regulated industry, as you all will agree with me. We are more into on-prem shop, I would say, but we have started our cloud journey because that is the future and need of the hour. So we have started our cloud journey, but not very far. I mean, we are following very slow track, in fact, yeah, I would say. We have a very, as I said, heavily regulated, lot of restrictions and, regulations needs to be followed. We have very frequent audits and all. So because compliance is one of the major, factor we need to consider when it comes for pharma. Yeah. So cybersecurity is one of the top priority. When this pandemic started, it became a hot topic. From basement to the board. Yeah. So now, when you meet your stakeholders, you meet board of directors, you meet, top leadership, they ask you one question: that how secure we are. And unfortunately, no one can give you assurance that you are 100% safe and secure. The way threats are emerging, you have to keep a very fast pace. You have to, adopt technologies very fast, and that's what we have done during this pandemic. To ensure that largely we are safe and secure, and multiple controls we had initiated, multiple technology tools and technologies we implemented just to ensure that largely we are safe and secure. Yeah, so that's from my side, Mr. Rajiv. Yeah, that's my submission. Thank you.
So anything else about your own work profile? How long have you been with Alchem, and where were you before?
I joined Alchem 2 years back. Prior to that, since last 20 years, I've been overseas. So I started my career with one of the leading FMEG company called Havells India. It was, way back 1999 after completing my MBA in IT. So basically, I have done my BTech in computer science and master's MBA in information technology. So I joined Havells in 1999. I worked with them for 5 years. Then I moved to Middle East, where I was working with one of the leading ministries. Then I moved to South Pacific, and then I have been, different part of Africa. Before coming back and onboarding with Alchem, I was, working in Hong Kong. I was part of Alibaba Group. So I was leading again, multiple subsidiaries, and I was heading their cybersecurity portfolio.
Great. So you have a lot of international experience, and do mention that, especially whenever you're talking about all these various things that we will be mentioning here.
Sure.
Okay. So maybe Vinay, why don't you talk about yourself and the work that you do?
Hey, thanks. Thanks so much, Rajiv. Again, it's a pleasure to be on this forum. So I work for VMware, Rajiv, and I've been with VMware almost 11 years now. I've done different roles in VMware, but currently what I'm responsible for is I manage the network and security business for VMware India. Now, network and security and VMware, typically people don't take that in the same, they don't utter those words in the same sentence. So mostly I get questions saying, what is VMware doing in network and security? Yeah. So, just to tell you that, VMware has been pioneer in virtualization, and, we virtualize servers, network, and storage. So from that perspective, from an infrastructure perspective, and we have been the infrastructure providers, infrastructure layer providers for servers as well as VDI, or even now we have partnership with all the leading public cloud providers, right? Like Azure, AWS, Google, Oracle, and everybody. So basically what we're doing is we've actually, through virtualization route, we have our own SDN platform, software defined networking, and we've been virtualizing network and security as well. If you're using VMware virtual machine, the chances are high that the network and security element is already bundled with it. So what's happened in last 2 years or 2.5 years during pandemic is that network and security component, which has been intrinsic into the infrastructure element from VMware, has suddenly become active. Customers are actively using it for various use cases like micro-segmentation, zero trust security, doing borderless ODC, OT technology security, securing their SD-WAN, and so on and so forth. So we had an amazing journey, and VMware is investing heavily into this portfolio. We are emerging, and to tell you, I'm actually here to learn. So I've heard you come from IIT background and BTech, and so I've also seen Mr. Mishra. He's traveled so much and learned so much. So I'm here to learn. From a background perspective, I've done my engineering and an MBA. But again, I'm the youngest here, and I'm here to learn, Mr. Rajiv.
Oh, great. And Gulam, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Rajiv, and it's a pleasure to be here in this forum. My name is Gulam Adil. I'm working in Netforces as a technical director since past 4 years. I came from the technical background, so I hold the CCIED, certifications from last 8 years. So I'm quite, techie guy who is involving in the technical a lot. So I handle the VMware SD-WAN and SASE team at Netforces. We are, very active in the market who's offering the VMware SD-WAN, which is one of the, Gartner leader technology around the world. So we are offering the solution to the market. And also I have around 15 plus years of experience in the networking and SDN technology. So I work in the working with a customer in different technology like making strategies, business management, and I have been also a part of a large deploymentation of the VMware SD-WAN and SASE in the different segments when it comes to the banking segments, financial segments, and retail segments. So I was a part of VMware SD-WAN deploymentation of on-premise in the various region and various country. So when it comes to my background, I have did my BSc Computer Science from Hyderabad, the Osmania University, and I hold the abroad experience. So I worked like 8 years in abroad in different countries like Dubai, Saudi, and Bahrain. So I hold a lot of enterprise background when it comes to the infrastructure and security. So since 2016 onwards, I'm very much active in the SDN technology. So you can see I saw the total transformation of the SDN take place. When it started the SD-WAN, when no one was aware of this terminology, but right now it's become a trend and it's commodities now. Everyone is adopting. So I was one of the witness who see this transformation, and I'm saying that the VMware is one of the leader in this market who transform time to time when it comes to the cloud transformation, when it comes to the work from home, when it comes to the SASE, which is the trend is going on. So yeah, so this is pretty much my background, Rajiv. Thank you.
Great, good to know all of you. And yeah, I remember VMware was always linked to virtualization. At least what I remember. It's good that network security is also now part of the domain. We'll learn more about it. So maybe I can start with Vijender. I think why don't you talk more in detail about your experience in your organization, especially the distributed workforce where people are accessing all your data, applications, sensitive work remotely. And so it not only has an impact just on security, but also on the network in terms of the performance and how you manage the network itself. So what's been your experience and what challenges have you faced?
Thank you, Rajiv, for asking this question. So as you said rightly, when you have distributed workforce, I mean, you have a lot of challenges, in terms of to manage them, and also to ensure that your users are getting connected through a secure manner. Yeah. So in fact, when this pandemic started, we had a very serious challenge because we have almost 35 plus locations across the country and 10 locations across the globe, and we have centralized IT services. So we had a very serious challenge to ensure that we have proper business continuity. Our users are able to connect to our network they should get all the services what they are supposed to get. So I mean, even our board of directors, they asked us to ensure that there's continuity, and at the same time, all the IT services should be secure. So in fact, we had very traditional VPN system what we used to have, to facilitate our users and especially our remote workforce. Yeah. So when this pandemic was on peak, we had to think of zero trust, and I'm sure that the term zero trust has been around for quite some time now. Wherever you go, and I attend a lot of similar events, and people they love to talk about zero trust. Yeah. So we were the first pharma company in India who adopted zero trust. When this pandemic was at its peak. Yeah. So moving from that traditional VPN zero trust challenging journey, what I mean I have seen personally, because I was leading that project. Yeah. So ensuring top management that this technology is going to help us to protect our services, our network, our communications, all IT services. At the same time, also taking users into confidence was a big challenge for us, because most of our organizations have seen that when you adopt any new technology, you have all the time reluctance from your users, because they have their own comfort zone and they don't want to come out from that comfort zone. Yeah? So that's a big challenge. I have faced. When we were implementing this zero trust. So this zero trust, it's a need of the hour. I would say it really helps you to have a very granular control, on your services, your network, your devices, your users. So we had this challenge to ensure that we implement this technology with the clear vision that what exactly we wanted to achieve from this deployment. Because again, management will ask you that what is your ROI and what return how you are supporting and what benefit business is getting after this investment. So that was the one challenge to convince our top management. And the other challenge, as I said, that giving a good confidence to the users and taking them on board was another challenge we had. The third challenge also what we faced, that having a lack of resources to manage this technology, because this is something new, even our IT department, they couldn't understand how they are going to manage this. So we had to, roll out our sleeves, we had to provide them some sort of training, a lot of hands-on simulations we did. But end of the day, we ensured that what technology we are implementing, we are getting a good, ROI on that. And broadly, I'm telling you that, I talked a lot of CIO and CISOs. I know personally multiple clients where they try to implement similar technology and they fail. Yeah, because they had a lot of internal challenges, even from their IT department. So mainly these major challenges what I highlighted we face, and we ensure that we are addressing those challenges, and we are complying with the because we have, as I said earlier, that it's heavily regulated in the industry pharma. So very often, almost every month you have auditing. Yeah. So you have auditors, FDA and other regulatory, they come and they audit you. So you need to ensure that all your whatever technology tools and technology you implement should fall under their compliance list. So those challenges we face, but thanks God now when I speak to you today, I could say that I'm well satisfied with this tool what we implemented, and it's broadly protecting us, giving a good control.
That's very nice. So in fact, now that you've spoken about zero trust, so I'm going to change the sequence of my earlier plan. This is a very important topic which has come up, and I'm also very keen to know about, what are the various building blocks? How do you work towards zero trust security? What do you mean by that? So Vinay, would you like to take that on and explain, especially from a VMware point of view?
Sure, Rajiv. So, so before, we get into zero trust, let me tell you when zero trust was invented. So zero trust as a term was actually invented by this gentleman called John Kinderberg. And I had a pleasure of having a discussion with him a few months back, and we actually did a webinar with him and asking him, what did you have in mind, when you said zero trust? And this gentleman, he actually discovered this term long back, almost 10-15 years ago. And at that point in time, he would have probably not believed the shape of zero trust what we have today, and in how it's going to get deployed. So there are few building blocks of zero trust, Rajiv, like you asked, and let me just walk you through. If I may go through slide 2, yes. So basically, well, zero trust is a security model, and why it is relevant now, so I'm just taking a step back and relating this with business. So like you introduced, Rajiv, what is happening today in the industry is the digitization, the transformation that is happening. So what we've seen with our customers is largely what they're doing is they're breaking down their application for the transformation. They're rebuilding their application, they're writing new applications, and they're writing new code. Now, typically, when they're doing those kind of things, what you've seen is they're actually, going on to architectures like microservices or Kubernetes or containers, right? So if you can just click on the next this thing, you will see that this 3-tier architecture is no more a 3-tier architecture. It's probably like an N-tier architecture, where you probably have a database which is still sitting on a physical server. You have your middleware which is sitting on a virtual machine, and probably the web layer where the most unpredictable workload is there is sitting in a Kubernetes layer. And all these 3 layers are actually making your application work. And earlier, I think maybe 3, 4, 5 years down the line, when people are actually doing this was more contained towards their data center, which means they had a perimeter firewall, and the brown color there is the perimeter firewall in the data center, which is to typically provide the security. But now what has happened is during pandemic, we all know the servers, storages, the network switches that you're ordering are taking 6 weeks, 12 weeks, 20 weeks, and all, right? So they're not getting delivered so quickly, for whatever reason. So what's happened is, one is that, and second is the disruption. So the adoption of public cloud is going on very, very heavily. If you can click on next slide. So the adoption of public cloud, what is happening is these components now go and sit into multi-cloud. And we have heard about terms like multi-cloud and hybrid cloud and so on and so forth. That's what is happening. Sorry, can you just click on the next slide? Yes. So this is where now your services are. They are into public cloud, and you are doing IaaS, infrastructure as a service, or a software as a service, or a PaaS. And where is this getting access from? Like Mr. Vijendra clearly said, right now this is getting access from your homes. They have 10 offices in I think 10 or 100 offices you mentioned, and you mentioned some 6 or 9 offices globally. If you can click on the next slide, what is happening is these applications are now getting access from all over the globe, right? And the users are connecting through their iPads, laptops, desktops, IoT, and so on and so forth. So is there a perimeter now? That perimeter is suddenly dissolved. And we asked this question to John and said, John, now did you envisage the kind of scenario we are today, and do you think the concept holds true right now as well? And he said yes. And the way zero trust security should be looked at is, and sorry, if you can just click on the next slide. So the way now zero trust has to be looked at, right? It has to be looked at from 2 perspectives. One is your attack surface, and one is your protection surface. So what is your attack surface? Your attack surface is still typically your applications, because you don't want to unnecessarily protect, or you don't want to make something secure which is of no value to you. So what is of most value to you? Your data, your applications, right? So that is the most important to you, and that's what your attack surface is. And because now it is lying, and your applications or data lying on cloud and getting access from anywhere, the threats could be anywhere. And the red color that you see, those are typically telling you that these are your attack surfaces, and they could get easily attacked from what locations? The locations are here. Can you click on the next slide, please? So now these attack surfaces can get attacked. Next slide, please. Okay. So what is basically now happening is you have an attack surface, and it can get attacked from your network. Like I'm sitting from home, I can see you gentlemen sitting at your home, in your offices. I'm using an open network. I'm using an open broadband. So how secure it is, we don't know. It could be an iPad, desktop, laptop, where somebody who's joined during pandemic, he might be logging in through his own home laptop, which is not a company provided. How secure it is? Does he have an agent antivirus? Does he have any EDR solution? Does he have any other sort of security? So you don't know where the attackers are coming from. And believe me, today there is malware as a service. These cloud providers, right? There are malware as a service getting run through the same cloud, where our critical applications are also running. So how do you then achieve this zero trust? So we've broken down zero trust building blocks into two. If you can click on the next slide. And further. Yes. So one is the zero trust network access, which is the whole piece of connectivity, right? Your application and data is getting connected from wherever, and that's the zero trust network access, or ZTNA in the popular term it is called. So we have broken down zero trust in two perspectives. One is outside the data center or the network piece, where you need to protect the network in terms of, you need to look at the identity of the people who are accessing it. You need to look at the identity of the devices, what kind of checklist it has. And then the second piece is, if you can click on next slide, the second piece is checking the identity of the applications internally inside the data center. Because when you are actually putting on containers, when you're actually putting virtual machines, it could be possible that one layer is compromised, right? Somebody's probably clicked on an email attachment and that one layer has got compromised, and now it is suddenly spreading across through lateral movement. So how do you protect that? And that is where we have come this term called zero trust application access. So the application access is the piece where you need to look at the east-west, which is the within the data center, and the network access is the piece which is typically the north-south, which is the network from where your application has got access to. So in VMware's parlance, right, these are the two key building blocks for zero trust network, zero trust security. And then what we typically do is, if you can click on next slide, what we typically do and how VMware's objective is, we first get you visibility end to end on all of this, and then we analyze the risks in every element that you have. Sorry, go on the previous slide. Then we analyze the risk on every element that you have. Then we correlate, right? And that is very, very critical, because we've spoken to multiple CISOs, and like I said, I'm here to learn. And most of the CISOs have told us that they have multiple security tools, and all the security tools is collecting malware analysis, is collecting threat analysis, and collecting multiple malicious behavior in their data center, in their IT. But what we do is we get it together, we orchestrate it, we correlate it, and then we are able to tell in terms of what security policies customers should have. And like I said in the beginning, right, most of the infrastructure element that VMware provides, both from private cloud, from VDI, from device management, from SDWAN perspective, security is inherent, which means I look at the malicious behavior in every element that I provide, and then I kind of correlate, and then I kind of give you a zero trust security policy that can be deployed both within the data center for your east-west or lateral movement, and on your network for your north-south and the network access that your users are doing to your applications.
Really makes a lot of things very clear to me, and not you, I am the one who's learning here. Good, thanks a lot. That was very interesting. Coming back, Vijender, before going on, Vinay was talking about all these zeros, the whole strategy and the concept of zero trust, how VMware is implementing it. So how are the challenges that you faced? How did they get addressed? And can you give some specific example of a challenge that you faced, which you could resolve using zero trust?
Thank you, Rajiv. Yeah. So let's talk about common IT challenges, because we are the one who implement this technology. And I can give you multiple examples. And let us start with the network trust and malware. So that is one of the hot topics nowadays everywhere you talk about. Yeah. So see, basically it needs to ensure that users and devices can safely connect to the internet, regardless of where they are connecting from. Yeah. Without the complexity, associated with the legacy approaches, what we had. Yeah. Additionally, IT, needs to proactively identify, block and mitigate targeted threats such as malware, ransomware, phishing, DNS, data exfiltration. You talk about advanced, zero-day attacks for users and all. No? You can have a big list. Yeah. So zero trust definitely, when you talk about zero trust security, it helps you to improve your security posture while reducing the risk of malware. So that is one example I can give. And I'm happy that Vinay touched upon, the secure application access. So that is also very important. You see, the traditional access technologies like VPN rely on, antiquated trust practices, what we call it, yeah, and which has resulted, in compromised user credentials, leading to breaches and all. IT needs to rethink its access model. It's a high time for all the IT business leaders to think about, and technologies to ensure the business is secure while still enabling fast and simple access for all users, yeah, including third-party users. Zero trust, in this case, zero trust again helps you to secure and can reduce the risk and complexity while delivering a consistent user experience. So that is my thought, when you talk about application. The other point which I touched upon initially when I was talking about complexity and IT resources, because sometimes you have serious challenge to manage that technology what you have implemented. Yeah. So enterprise access and security is complex and constantly changing. Traditional enterprise technologies are complex, and making changes often takes days. Sometimes it takes weeks, and that business cannot afford. Yeah. So using again zero trust model, it can help you to reduce FTE hours, and architectural complexity. So these factors, if you consider, as we say that charity starts from home itself, to talk about, within your IT team, what challenges you may face and how you can address those challenges. And then your business comes, then your users come, then you think about other, stakeholders. So these few points I could highlight, and that's my submission on your question, Rajiv.
Great, that's nice. And there's something else which came up as a new technology a few years back. I remember EY also, when we were talking about our global network, connecting all the countries together. We were primarily on MPLS and some places on VPN and those sort of technologies. I think the best that we could talk of was MPLS at that time. And at that time, I remember this new SDWAN came up. And SDWAN was something which was supposed to be something which will really revolutionize the way the network works, both in terms of the performance, how you manage it, and the cost. Because it was going to be riding on the internet and not like an MPLS, which was a fairly expensive network connectivity. So maybe, Gulam, if you could give us an idea about what this SD-WAN does, how does it work, what is the concept, and also both from a connectivity part towards the server side, which is hosting on the cloud, and on the end user side, which is all the people who are connected to the applications. So can you throw some light on?
Sure, Rajiv. Thank you so much for asking me this question. So, well, I believe that cloud transformation can't be succeed without having consistent performance with the reliability connectivity to the cloud. So connectivity is play a very important role when it comes to the cloud transformation. Any company, they move from on-premise to cloud, so the connectivity part comes in first, because it's directly impacting on the user experience. So when they have the servers placed in the data center, the access and the reachability is different, the latency point of view, the bandwidth point of view. When this transformation happens, so the bandwidth cut to half, and the latency, because you don't have the last mile control, because of there are a lot of service provider in the middle, so the companies cannot control on the last mile connectivity. So most of the organization they are shifting their workloads to the cloud environment. Today's around 76% organization has been adopted a multi-cloud environment, in such as platform as a service, or infrastructure as a service, or a software as a service application such as Office 365, Salesforce, or WebEx, or even GoToMeetings, whatever the application is, the SaaS-based applications. So according to the business decision maker survey, 21% of CIOs and CISOs, they said that there are poor web cloud application performance. So when they move to the cloud, so application performance is degraded. So different sector digitalization strategy in all vertical, using different types of application, which require some different types of treatment. If you are using commodity links, for example, to reduce the cost, or you want to have a commodity links to connect to the cloud, which requires certain protocols need to be take place to make sure that application performance to improvise the user experience and to the business users. So with the traditional WAN architecture, which was meant only to resolve the issue of branch to branch and branch to data center connectivity only, it's not meant for the cloud transformation. So the cloud transformation comes in middle, and this traditional WAN which you mentioned about MPLS, it's it's a 2-decade ago technology. It's been introduced in 1999. So now we are sitting in 2022. So it's been an outdated technology, I can say, sort of thing. Although it's a secure technology, but when it comes to the cloud, MPLS is not cloud-aware technology, to say that. So traditional WAN architecture, if you want to connect any branch to branch, or if you are hosting some application in cloud, so these branches will come steer all the traffic from the data center. So the traffic which you are receiving in data center is suboptimal. Why? Because you already hosted majority of the application in cloud. So whatever the traffic is transiting to data center, it's suboptimal. So it's known as the backhauling, or you can say hairpinning. So this is one of the major issue where we get the lack of bandwidth or even the latency. So branch can go directly accessing the cloud application. It has to go via the data center. So we are ending up with adding some sort of latency due to the hops and the single point of failure. What if the head office goes down? So there will be no connectivity to the cloud. So then the SD-WAN comes into play. So SD-WAN, what it does, first of all, it is establish a direct connectivity to the cloud. And as I mentioned, there are multiple types of cloud services like IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. So platform as a service and infrastructure as a service, one of the cloud platforms where the customer can host their servers on that specific cloud and can able to form the connectivity. And there are multiple vendors out there in the market who provide this sort of connectivity to deploy some sort of edge devices or head-end devices to deploy in such environment. But there is no vendor out there in the market who provide the SaaS-based optimization solutions. The SaaS-based is something that you don't have control, like in case of Office 365. None of the vendors is allowing the install any sort of components or any sort of plugins on their tenant. So how we can resolve those sort of issue and maintain the user experience? So VMware SD-WAN is offering something, it's having a very unique architecture. It's a cloud delivered architecture which helped optimize the cloud based connectivity using VMware cloud gateways. Cloud gateway is one of the component which VMware SD-WAN is allowed, and this cloud gateway has been deployed strategically worldwide. There are more than 3,000 POPs out there in the worldwide. If you can see the VMware SD-WAN cloud gateway on the top, which is directly connecting to the SaaS-based or IaaS-based services. So those cloud gateways are sitting adjacent to these applications. So can you please move to the next slides, please? Yeah. So the branch can able to access cloud-based application by having any sort of connectivity. So there is no underlay transport dependency. So for example, you can have a hybrid types of WAN. You can have a MPLS, you can have DSL, DIA, or lease line, what sort of connectivity you can plug it to the branch. It can be form the direct connectivity to the cloud environment. So if you can see the highlighted first number, which is a SaaS-based connectivity. So the cloud gateway is transiting the traffic to the SaaS base and optimizing the traffic. So for example, the branch wanted to go to the AWS or Office 365. So the nearest cloud gateway will form the DMPO tunnel, which is called a VCMP tunnel in the terminology of VMware. So DMPO is a proprietary protocol of VMware, which is improvising the last mile connectivity by maintaining the quality of service from branch A until the cloud connectivity. So the traffic will go to the cloud gateway and it will hand off the traffic to the specific application. And if you see the scenario 2, which it's highlighted, scenario 2, it's if some customers are using AWS or VMC or Google Cloud platforms or any sort of cloud servers or host workloads in the cloud tenants or cloud environment. VMware is allowing to deploy the virtual edge, which is a part of edge is one of the component in SD-WAN, where you can deploy in the branch side as a physical physical form factor, and you can deploy also in the virtual form factor in the cloud environment. Also in this if you contrast to the cloud connectivity, the VMware has come up with a new solution called Azure vWAN. So Azure vWAN is something which is new to the market, where the other vendor cannot offer the it's until the moment they don't offer such service. So Azure vWAN is something that Microsoft is offering the managed SD-WAN services in the Azure cloud environment in a full cluster mode, like 2 edge devices can be placed, multiple cluster devices can be placed in the cloud environment, and branch can able to connect directly to that specific edge devices. And also, if you see the cloud gateways also can be help to connecting the non SD-WAN devices. So for example, one of the challenges to connect the non SD-WAN branches. If you are in some customer in the transformation mode from SD-WAN to non SD-WAN, so one of the challenges to connect the legacy types of branches. So the cloud gateways provide the good role to connect to the non SD-WAN branches, and also it form a hybrid types of connectivity in terms of like MPLS or DSL, or as I mentioned, the whole underlay transport. There is no dependency on that. So I believe the SD-WAN is one of the technology which is transforming the whole cloud WAN architecture connectivity with having any sort of WAN underlay transport. Yeah, thank you.
So tell me, in this slide itself, there is, if you see number 3 and 4, one is a legacy data center, the other is SD-WAN data center. What is the difference and how do they connect? It's not clear.
Yeah, sure. So sorry, I don't cover this 3 and 4. So the third number is the legacy data center. So for example, if the customer is running any non-SD-WAN types of devices, for example, firewall or routers or any sort of devices. So let's take it this way. Customer, they may have a branches in the different region. So branch sitting in London, they want to connect from India, and the London branch, they don't have any SD-WAN devices out there, or maybe it's in the shipment, or and we want to communicate all these SD-WAN branch to that specific branch in London. So we can able to use the cloud gateways to form the IPsec tunnel, the secure IPsec tunnel to that specific branch, and all the SD-WAN branch can use the path of the cloud gateways to reach to the legacy WAN branches. So this is the alternate way until they can have a SD-WAN branches out there. And also there is a cloud web security scenario. So for example, when it comes to the SASE, secure access service edge is a trend nowadays. So SASE is basically a cloud security platform, which I think Vinay has elaborated in very well manner how the SASE and the zero trust it's availing those services. So also the point number 4, if you see, this is a hybrid type of WAN. So customer in this topology, it's using the MPLS and internet together. So those connectivity will be aggregated as one, and it will do the per packet steering from the branch point of view. So we can able to share the load sharing between the private MPLS and public MPLS, public circuits links. So in the traditional way, if the customer is having 2 types of connectivity like MPLS and the DSL or maybe DIA sort of connectivity, it was in active and standby mode. But in SD-WAN, whatever the connectivity you are connecting to the SD-WAN device, it will be actively participating, and it is doing the per packet load steering. And also, if any one of the link goes down, it will immediately all the traffic will be steered to the active link. So you will not even get a single ping loss while transforming this traffic from one link to another link. Yeah.
Understood. Very nice. So since these are all VMware products, and Vinay, would you like to add something to this?
No, Rajiv, I think Gulam has really described it really well. And I think SD-WAN becomes one of the backbone for IT, in the current pandemic situation. In fact, for VMware employees, we are working from home and we get one SD-WAN. We're privileged to get one SD-WAN device. And you will see that, the way our network is and, the way my voice is or my audio or video both is. I think we've been using SD-WAN very, very actively, because what it also ensures is, even if I'm using an open internet, there is an SD-WAN overlay tunnel between my home and to the cloud. So, and then there are policies. So any, malicious activity or any of the untrusted access cannot be given to our network, and it is all coming securely through an SD-WAN overlay tunnel. Gulam has described it really, really well. Thanks, Gulam.
So tell me, you said at home also, do you get an SD-WAN device, or how do you connect?
Yeah, so our SD-WAN devices, they come with zero touch provisioning, which means, you just need an SD-WAN, you just need an internet connectivity, and you plug in the Ethernet port into the CPE, basically, which is nothing but the router, and the router has a wireless access. So, if you're using it in a small branch, or if you're using it, like myself at home, I use a wireless access to connect my laptops and all my devices to that. And then the policies that are pushed onto that device is all remotely. So what happens is, like I said, it's zero trust provisioning. So the only touching that you need to do is connecting the wire into that device. And once you do that, the device is already giving you the Wi-Fi access, right? So there is a Wi-Fi that has already been given. So you can connect your mobile phone, laptop, or any of the device through the Wi-Fi, and you get an activate link. You activate it. The moment you activate it, the orchestrator, which is also on cloud, where the policy has been decided, gets pushed onto that device immediately, and then through that policy is how you access. So if you've not accessed YouTube, or you might not want to get YouTube on your SD-WAN overlay. You might want the YouTube to go under on an underlay, which is an unsecured network, because it is my personal access, or a Gmail, which is a personal access. So those policies are already there, and there is nothing which is my personal access going onto my official or a corporate network, and there is nothing from a corporate network that is going onto an open internet. It is all happening in a secure manner. And then obviously, because I have two links, and even if one link, and the DMPO that Gulam mentioned, which is nothing but the per packet steering, it is so good, Rajiv. So there is no packet drop at all. Most of the SD-WAN devices, they do per session, which means if a link gets disconnected during a session, the next session is where the link load balance happens. In case of VMware, it is per packet. So even if a link fails in one session, the session is not dropped. It still continues from another link, and the links could be MPLS or open internet, like Gulam said, or even a SIM card, right? Some of our boxes come with LTE SIM cards. So places where people do not get MPLS cloud, or people where they do not get a wired broadband, you can put a SIM card on top of it, and you can give internet access, and then through SD-WAN, you create an overlay tunnel and ensure that all the traffic that is getting from those branches, some of the, the remote petrol pumps, or some of the, remote locations where the wired connectivity cannot happen, the SIM cards can be inserted, and through that open internet, I can create an SD-WAN overlay tunnel and transfer the data securely.
Oh, that's right. So Vijender, in your organization, are you using SD-WAN?
Yes, we do, and I can give you my feedback that SD-WAN, offers better protection and greater performance than MPLS. That is for sure, and that's what we have been experiencing. So it's a good solution, robust solution. I mean, gives you better protection, greater performance than MPLS and all. I mean, traditionally we had MPLS lines, and gradually we plan to migrate over SD-WAN. Still, we use MPLS line. We don't say that we don't use it, but if I compare the both solutions, both technologies, I can say that, I mean, SD-WAN, gives you a better protection and greater performance. So that's my
Just Rajiv, allow me just to add one thing here.
Yeah, sure.
Like Vijender was mentioning about the lack of resources to send to the branches location. So any organization, this is one of the big challenge for truck roll the resources to the remote branches to do some sort of consoling to the device and do some sort of settings. But SD-WAN really comes with the orchestrator, which is the main component, where regardless how many branches you have. So currently the VMware largest branch, the deployment branch is 12,000. So one of the customer in Europe, they have 12,000 branches. So we can manage and maintain all the business policies, all the monitoring, analytics, all this from single pane of glass. So no need to send any a skill set guides to the remote branch. Anyone can do the activation or replacing the device, doing the RMA by having the smartphone on their hand. It's a zero ZTP. It's a very good functions, and all the management plane it's in the centralized. So by sitting in the single place, you can able to see the branches across the world. And also there is one of the thing which is MPLS doesn't offer, which is connecting the branches in the different region. There's if you have MPLS in the different region, which is having a lot of expensive type of connectivity. But SD-WAN, if you connect the SD-WAN, there will be no geographical region restrictions. You can able to form the DMPO tunnel, which is as Vinay mentioned, the overlay tunnels between any region to any cloud, or any branch to branch, or even data center to DR, whatever sort of connectivity you can able to do that. This slide is presenting, we have taken from one of the real snapshot which we deployed to the customer in the POC. So if you see, there are link degradation happens in the two links, but after the enhancement and mitigation of the TCP and UDP correction, how the SD-WAN is delivered. So you can see the voice quality traffic, after enhancement, the Velo Cloud is improvising the connectivity. So in this case, if there is any issue on the underlying transport, the SD-WAN will do the remediation technique to mitigate the issue, and it will be streamlined.
Anybody wants to add anything? Any comments? And
One more
also
thing.
a question. Also, question to the organizers, if there are any questions from the audience anywhere that we need to handle. Yeah, sorry, Vijender, please go ahead.
I just wanted to add one more thing, because we had done comparison also. So if you compare SD-WAN with MPLS, if you do a proper cost comparison, yeah. Nowadays we have been asked, to reduce the cost, So we have done a cost comparison also, and I'm happy to share that if you compare SD-WAN with your traditional MPLS, SD-WAN reduces cost, by providing multi-point connectivity using distributed private data traffic exchange. And what we have seen that this really help us to bring down the operational cost. So in that way, SD-WAN is also cost-effective solution, which gives you better protection and great performance.
Thank you, Vijender, for mentioning this.
Yeah, I have heard about the cost part. In fact, that's what one of the major benefits which was initially being talked about. Yeah.
Yeah, and Raju, maybe just one point I wanted to add was, SD-WAN is actually one such solution, right? Which is too good to be true. That kind of that kind of feeling is what you get, because SD-WAN, because there is an overlay tunnel, the kind of visibility that you can get, and the kind of, so like I said, right, the boxes come with Wi-Fi. So when a branch is using that Wi-Fi access, and then there are 10 or 15 devices, or depending upon how big a branch is, there'll be more users in that office or in that branch accessing that network. We are able to actually pinpoint and tell you what is the user experience that they're getting. And if there is any issue with their device, and it could be an IoT device or a laptop or desktop, and we can actually pinpoint and tell you where the issue is actually from a user experience point of view. So SD-WAN, because it's overlay and it's all in software, it is one technology which is too good to be true and can really solve a lot of problems.
Great. I seem to have missed the revolution. It's been a pleasure talking to you. It's been a technology that I've been hearing a lot about, and would have enjoyed working on it. Came in a little too late for me, but good. All the best. Thank you very much.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.